This is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. You can always watch and stream us live by downloading the 1017 The Truth app or watching us live on YouTube. And now I am so excited to be joined by Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson. Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson, for joining Truth to Power today.
Hey, Kyle. Nice to be with you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to get right into it. There has been a lot of conversation over the last week plus now about your appointment of Adam Procell as the new leader of the Milwaukee Office of Community Wellness and Safety, formerly known as the Office of Violence Prevention. What about Adam Procell's resume made you believe he was the right leader for the job?
Well, a number of things. Adam has really an incredible life story that I think suits him well for this opportunity and this position at this time. I think over the course of the last week or so, Adam's been out talking with folks in the community, doing interviews. Folks have gotten the chance to know him. There will be a forthcoming town hall meeting, so people can get the chance to know him as well. But for those that don't, Adam, when he was a young man, a teenager still, was involved in a gang and actually killed a rival gang member and was sentenced to a lengthy prison term. He spent nearly a quarter century behind bars, and when he got out, worked to turn his life around, which he certainly has done, working to build stronger relationships with the community and law enforcement and others. In fact, the very first time that I met Adam, many years ago, well before I was mayor, and well before he even thought about serving in this position, I met him on the north side of Milwaukee at an event that he was hosting, working to break bread with folks who had been formerly incarcerated and law enforcement officers. Now, not seeing each other as criminals or former criminals or police officers, but seeing each other as human beings and working to make sure we bring the community together that way. That was my first introduction to him, some time ago, and he's only worked ever since to keep building community connections. And so I think those things and others make him a pretty good fit for this role this time.
Well, I love to hear that, and I'm sure the community loves to hear that as well. And he officially started his role. And what would you say would be the top two priorities you expect Procell to address as the new leader of the Office of Community Wellness and Safety, Mayor?
Well, the first role and responsibility is going to be introducing himself, which, as I mentioned, he's been doing in media appearances and having conversations with people. And I've been very pleased to hear that even people who may have been critical, not of Adam necessarily, but of the way that he was selected, have had the chance to sit down and talk to him. And having the opportunity to do that, even if they had some concerns, they've left impressed and have left hopeful about what Adam will be able to bring and do in this office. And I think that's important, and that's a good thing. Next thing I think is continuing the critically important role that the Office of Community Wellness and Safety plays here in our community. I think not just in Milwaukee, but in cities and communities all across the United States. It's 2025, so we know that police officers of and by themselves cannot be the be-all, end-all to the issues that we have around public safety. You need preventative measures in place, too. And that office here in Milwaukee, our OCWS office, has to focus in on that. And I think that's what Adam's number one goal is going to be in this new job.
You kind of alluded to it before about the appointment, and some people having some pushback, right? And it bypassed the Common Council confirmation, which led to many people questioning the process and claiming maybe you skipped some steps here. But the Common Council President Jose Perez, Alderman Scott Spiker, and Bob Bauman, they seemed a little blindsided by your decision. Perez went as far to say the selection process was flawed. What would be your response to their disappointment in the selection process?
Well, there was no bypassing of the Common Council. In fact, this position doesn't need Common Council approval, so therefore there is no bypassing of the Common Council. I don't believe that it was flawed, and if it was flawed, people who suggest that it was, particularly the council president, did not say how it was flawed. Just mentioned that it was, but did not explain how that actually was. There was a process here, and I can go through it. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, it doesn't go to Common Council approval. This was simply the mayor's choice in the first place. Number two, the safety roles that we have, the chiefs of the major public safety departments, the fire chief as well as the police chief, they go before the community with community meetings before their selection. That wasn't typical of the Office of Community Wellness and Safety. And as mayor, I said that since we're doing that with the police chief and the fire chief, I'd like to try to do this with OCWS to bring more community voices into it. And so we did that. We had a process that actually was followed. We had a national search. We had nearly 100 candidates. Those candidates were distilled down to 3 finalists, of which I was to select one. Of the 3, we engaged in very, very serious conversations, with who I thought to be the best candidate after the town hall meetings with all the candidates had concluded. Ultimately, what happened, though, was that the leading candidate decided to not take the job. After all of that, after going through the whole process, all the interviews, the multiple interviews, coming here, having those community meetings and stuff, and having very serious conversations with me and my staff, decided ultimately not to take on the job. And so during that process, the community started asking questions and informing my thoughts on this, and Adam's name began to emerge in this process. And so that's when ultimately I ended up having to pivot. And that's exactly what happened, and that's how we ultimately ended up with Adam. Of course, I had previous knowledge of him, as I explained earlier, but that's essentially what happened and how we got here. Just because, ultimately, when it came down to the 3 finalists, there was a change in the desire of the number 1 finalist to not take the job.
I appreciate you with the clarity because I think a lot of people don't know that. So I appreciate you, Mr. Mayor, for actually bringing some clarity to that. And you mentioned before, since Adam Procell did not have the opportunity to go to the community and participate in a public forum, when do you plan on having him to have a public forum for him to meet the public?
We're working on that. That will happen soon. I don't have a date to share at this moment, but we certainly will do that because I thought it was important to do before, and I think it's important to do now. And Adam knows that that's something that ought to happen, and he's looking forward to having that conversation as well. I think he's even mentioned that he's willing to answer every single question and be the last person that leaves out of the room. So we're being totally open and honest and transparent in this process. Ultimately, though, it's my responsibility as mayor to select the best person for the job, right? And that's exactly what I feel like I've done with Adam. And I think, over time, when folks get the chance to know him, when they get the chance to see what he's able to do in this job, I think folks will be pleased with the work product that he produces.
Yeah, I love his backstory, and I'm for one, I didn't know who he was, but I will say, based off his past life experience, I think he definitely is a good selection for the role. Now, you did ask the community to trust your judgment on this one, and I know last hire of Ashanti Hamilton didn't really work out. So why do you believe the public should trust you on this one?
Well, Ashanti didn't leave the office because he wasn't working. Ashanti left the office because, quite frankly, in government, the salaries are not necessarily as competitive as they are in the private sector. That's well known. And he had the opportunity to go on to a more lucrative position in the private sector, which I don't fault him for. And so that's ultimately what happened with Ashanti. It's not that there was a dismissal of any sort from me or anything like that. It's he was presented with a better opportunity. He's got children who are in college, and he took on that opportunity. And I don't fault him for that. I thank Ashanti for his work.
We are speaking with Mayor Cavalier Johnson here in Milwaukee on the award-winning 101.7 The Truth. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to switch gears now because violent crime in Milwaukee is down this year, but homicides are up. We have also seen some high-profile crime this summer, specifically on Water Street, but also we have seen police chases tragically end, sadly, here in the city of Milwaukee. What ideas do you have, Mayor Johnson, that have gone through your mind on how can we curb and stop some of this violence?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question, and I am very pleased that over the course of, and thank you for reporting it as it is, right, just of the sheer facts, right, because I think that's important context. Crime in Milwaukee overall is down. In fact, from this time last year, it's down, I believe, about 17%, 2 years ago, about 20%, and since I've become mayor, about 25%, and I think that's really, really important context. Homicides are up a little bit in Milwaukee, and that's a problem, something that I'm acutely aware of and focused on, and so is the Milwaukee Police Department. And quite frankly, so too is the community. And I often say, as I said in this interview earlier on, that the police of and by themselves can't solve this, and by this I mean homicides that routinely are committed with firearms, unfortunately. That takes community intervention. It takes folks in the public to work with us in order to make sure that folks don't get access to guns who shouldn't. It takes state law changes and federal law changes to stop individuals who should not have access to firearms as well. So outside of police and outside of prevention, we work to make sure that people in this community have access to good-paying, family-supporting jobs. We're working to make sure that folks in this community have access to housing that is affordable, to take some of those stresses off. We work in this community to make sure that young people in Milwaukee have access to caring adult mentors, people who care about them, to show them the right way so that they're in a better position to excel when they get into the classroom and go off to college, and then ultimately become productive, contributing members to society. So those are some of those things. As it relates to what's gone on Water Street, we've been very concerned about that. Had a press event some weeks ago about just that, and outlined a number of things that we would be able to do in order to crack down on some of the bad behavior that we've seen on Water Street over the course of the earlier weeks of the summer. And some of those things have been successful. The past couple of weekends, we've had pretty quiet nights on Water Street.
No, I agree. Now, I have to ask you because you see it kind of going on in D.C., and now you see the mention of the deployment of National Guard in Chicago isn't too far from us, and there seems to be a trend of who they're looking to go after is majority black cities, that's Milwaukee, cities with crime like Milwaukee, and black mayors like yourself. Would you be open to the president sending the National Guard troops into Milwaukee to help MPD fight some of the crime?
No, if you look at some of the reports or talk to some folks who are aware of the morale of members of the National Guard who have been deployed from states with Republican governors to Washington, D.C., they have very, very low morale. They feel like they're being used as political pawns. I think you kind of actually saw that in the way that soldiers were marching during the parade, the military parade that the president commissioned on his birthday, allegedly to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, but on his birthday, it was a birthday parade. No, I'm not interested in that. We have local law enforcement for a reason, and that's exactly what the Milwaukee Police Department, the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, other agencies in our city and region and state are for. We don't need the U.S. military to have boots on the ground in American cities. That's not their mission. That's not their calling. I really respect the military. I've got family members who have served in the military. And the critical role that they play for the safety of the American citizen. But their mission is not here. It's not in cities. It's defending Americans abroad. And the National Guard can be useful in other situations that affect communities like, unrest or floods or things like that. That's not happening in Milwaukee. It's not happening in Chicago. And I think the president's wrong to be seeking to deploy the military in American cities for that purpose.
Again, we are speaking with Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson here on Truth to Power on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Just a couple more here for you, and just talking about overall performance and job performance. And I want you to be honest. How would you grade your performance as the mayor of Milwaukee? Because I tell people all the time, I keep it real with everybody about people's performances, and I tell people all the time on my show is that you are the mayor of Milwaukee and not the mayor of just the north side of Milwaukee. And so when I talk about that, people sometimes get a little upset. And I say you've done an above-average job, but how would you rate your job performance so far, and what have you delivered for the black community?
Well, I think there are a number of things that we've been done to find success in Milwaukee. Again, if you go across this city, not just downtown, but in Bronzeville, if you go down to Walker's Point, you'll see development that's happening. You'll see a new library that's rising on MLK Drive. You'll see more businesses that have selected Milwaukee, creating more opportunity for people who live in Milwaukee. The school year is getting ready to start, so a fixture in classrooms will be the mayor talking to especially young men of color, young black boys in Milwaukee, to let them know that regardless of the circumstances you find yourself in, regardless of what neighborhoods you find yourself living in, regardless of the challenges that your family may face, you too can find success. Because I lived in those neighborhoods and faced those same sort of challenges, and I'm working to inspire those young people. You'll see that a couple of years ago, and this is the fourth year this has happened, we've created a new program that's come out of the mayor's office called Camp Rise, positively impacting the lives of a whole host of young people of color, and it particularly started with young black men. And now we've expanded it to girls too, to make sure that they stay out of trouble. In Milwaukee, you'll find more partnerships that are happening all across Milwaukee. You'll find a city that actually did not go into bankruptcy after really decades and decades and decades of approaching that cliff. We did not do that because I was able to make difficult choices, hard choices, and go in and work with people who don't see eye to eye with me politically, but able to secure wins for the city of Milwaukee in the process. So I think the city is in a stronger position. I think the city is in a safer position, as we discussed earlier, and I think that we're in the process of becoming a more prosperous place as well. And I think, if you look across the country nationally, as I do, Milwaukee's stock, in a way that it hasn't before, is really beginning to rise. And that has to do with the work that we've done to grow our hospitality, tourism industry, the things that we have hosted here in Milwaukee. If you go and you look at the publications around the United States, Milwaukee's name is coming into the mouths of more and more people across the country, creating more of an eye here. So this is becoming a city that people want to stay in. This is becoming a city that people want to come to as well. And I think that spells benefits for the entire city, but specifically for the black community too, because more people staying here, more people having access to good homes, more people having access to good jobs means more dollars circulating, means more business for black businesses and opportunities for black people. So I feel really, really good about where we're going, and I'm encouraged to continue doing the work that I have been doing over the course of the last few years as mayor.
Well, I just want to continue to have you fighting for specifically black Milwaukee because we are the majority population. So anything and everything you can do to uplift this community, I'm standing behind you. Last one, Milwaukee was devastated by floods August 9th and August 10th. And Tony Evers recently just did a declaration asking for the president to give some assistance to the community like Milwaukee County and Waukesha, Ozaki, who are all impacted by this flood. How optimistic are you that our community, which was impacted by this flood, will see any FEMA assistance from the federal government?
At the end of the day, politics being aside, the people who are impacted in Milwaukee and the region are American citizens, right? So that should be the baseline. This is not a political conversation. This is not a race conversation for the president who ultimately has to decide this. This is about serving Americans. And so I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful because it's the right thing to do. That the President of the United States will make the decision to declare the major disaster in Milwaukee and provide FEMA assistance to people in Milwaukee who need it, but particularly, as you talked about, Kyle, on the north side of Milwaukee. I mean, when we talk about that being a 1,000-year flood or a 1,000-year experience, that happened on the north side. It happened on the northwest side at Timmerman Airport, where the rain gauge there recorded over 14 inches of rain. That's more rain than we get in a summer that fell in a singular incident, and most of that rain fell in black neighborhoods. So we really need that support. We really need it in black neighborhoods, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do in order to secure the resources that we can from the president.
Mayor Johnson, there's no way that Ozaki County or Washington County or Waukesha County can get aid, and we can't, correct?
Ultimately, it's the president's decision. From what I understand, and I don't know all the details here, they said that Washington County, that also suffered some damage here, would not get something, is what I understand. Apparently some choices can be made and some choices could not be made. Ultimately, though, it's the president's decision. And I was saying, whatever I have to do in order to get resources for Milwaukee, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Ultimately, it's his decision, but if I, have to make decisions in order to get that resources within reason, I'm not going to, do things like agree to have the National Guard or ICE, patrolling the streets or anything like that. But if we have to do some additional work in order to convince the president to get resources to black people in Milwaukee and to Milwaukee generally, then that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, I appreciate you and keep fighting the good fight, brother. I appreciate you so much. This is Mayor Cavalier Johnson of Milwaukee joining us here on Truth to Power. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you, Kyle.
Again, that was Mayor Cavalier Johnson joining us here on Truth to Power on the award-winning 101.7 The Truth. And woo! He came with some conviction, man. He was standing on business, especially with Jose Perez and Donald Trump. We'll break it down, all coming up next. 833-212-1017. That is the Truth Talk and text line. I want to get your reactions to Mayor Johnson joining us here on Truth to Power. We'll have that next. Keep watching us and streaming us live on YouTube. But in 3 minutes, we'll be back and I'll take your calls and your texts about the interview with Mayor Cavalier Johnson.